Mark making for boys. The aim of this course is to be able to understand the development needs for literacy and mark making within the EYFS. The objectives are to have an understanding of the role of the practitioner in providing activities to support mark making with boys both indoors and outside. Early years outcomes. EYFS. For 0 to 11 months, children later writing is based on skills and understandings which they develop as babies and toddlers. Before they can write, they need to learn to use spoken language to communicate. Later, they learn to write down the words that they can say. For 8 to 20 months and 16 to 26 months, early mark making is not the same as writing. It is a sensory and physical experience for babies and toddlers, which they do not yet connect to forming symbols which can communicate meaning. 22 to 36 months distinguishes between the different marks they make. 30 to 50 months sometimes gives meaning as marks as they draw and paint, and ascribes meanings to marks that they see in different places. 40 to 60 months gives meaning to marks they make as they draw, write and paint, begins to break the flow of speech into words, continues a rhyming string, hears and says the initial sound in words, can segment the sound in simple words and blend them together, links sounds to letters, naming and sounding the letter of the alphabet, uses some clearly identifiable letters to communicate meanings, representing some sounds correctly and in sequence, writes own name and other things such as labels and captions, and attempts to write short sentences in meaningful contexts. The early learning goal. Writing. Children use their phonic knowledge to write words in ways which match their spoken sounds. They also write some irregular common words. They write simple sentences which can be read by themselves and others, and some words are spelt correctly and others are phonetically plausible. Planning for play. Children learn from everything they do, but their development depends in part on the quality and range of experiences they have received both in the environment of their setting and at home. Some children have had opportunities to experiment with mark making from their earliest years, while others have had limited experiences for a variety of reasons. Within the context of an active play-based learning environment, children will have many different ways of representing their thoughts and feelings in the early years. Some will choose music, dance or song, and others will prefer to tell stories through role play, drama, or using small world resources. But most will at some point be naturally drawn to represent their ideas graphically. When children realise that marks can be used symbolically to carry meaning, in much the same way as the spoken word, they begin to use marks as tools to make their thinking visible. Children will therefore be making marks for a wide range of reasons, each equally valid, across all 7 areas of learning in the EYFS. Through their marks, they are communicating their ideas, expressing their feelings, and developing their imagination and creativity, and testing their hypotheses about the world. Those opportunities for making thinking visible are fundamental to children's learning and development, and should be the entitlement of every child. Indoors. Registers, self-registration marks. Name writing for different purposes. Diaries and calendars, recording significant events. Telephone and address book, recording phone numbers and addresses. Cooking, writing recipes and ingredients, providing scales, clocks and timers to record weight, volume and time. Dance, making marks to music, ribbons on sticks. Office, taking messages, signing in or out. An art area, collages, painting, gluing and using clay. A quiet area, with pads, paper and pens to record feelings. A graphics area, different types of paper, diaries, letters, envelopes and stamps, postcards, invitations, tickets, maps, plus opportunities for recording, counting, measuring, calculating and quantities. Recording measurements in the big block area. Music area, recording the beat and the length of sounds. Whiteboards in group areas. Registration, names, recording, counting and calculations. The role play area, for example a shoe shop, filling in slips and order forms, shoe sizes on boxes. And small world area, drawing maps, roads, homes and directions. Outdoors, big chalks on the floor, mud and twigs of different lengths and sizes. Sensory play, making marks on builder's trays in different textures. Playhouse with pads, paper and books. A gazebo with clipboards and paper and envelopes. Fabric sheets with mud, sticks and different lengths and widths. Maps, huge sheets and felt pens. Spray painting with water sprayers. Picnic table covered in large sheets of paper. Rolls of paper on the floor. Mark making trolley with a variety of equipment, different shapes and sizes. The forest area, making marks with sticks in the mud. And the garage area, filling in slips and recording findings. Resources and equipment. Paper. Unlined paper with assorted sizes, shapes, colours, textures and types. Cardboard, assorted colours, textures and thickness. Music paper, graph paper, lined paper, plain paper. Pads, notebooks, envelopes, used and unused. Stamps, used and real. Sticky notes and labels. Address books, diaries, registers and spiral-bound notebooks. Tools. A range of writing tools of different thicknesses, multicoloured pens, markers, crayons, writing pencils, colouring pencils, felt-tip pens, gel pens and biros. Pencil sharpeners, stampers and ink pads, staplers, hole punches, rulers and scissors, clay tools. A range of paints including watercolours, inks and dyes, gouache, block, powder and poster paint, and palettes to give children opportunities to mix their own colours. A range of brushes of varying sizes, big, fat, small, thin, square-tipped or pointed, and painting implements including rollers, sponges and stamps. A range of fixing materials, sticky tape, glue, glue sticks, stapler, paper clips, treasury tags, masking tape, string or wool. Examples of environmental print: notes, timetables, adverts, leaflets and junk mail. Ready-made books, zigzag, stapled or stapleless. Messages and display boards, communication pockets at child's height for children to use independently. Clipboards, whiteboards and blackboards, a range of sizes, both fixed and portable, and name cards and number lines. Outdoor learning. Buckets of water and a range of tools, including paintbrushes, rollers, artist brushes, sponges and dish mops. Chunky chalks. Blackboards and whiteboards and assorted chalks, paints, felt and dry white pens. Large rolls of wallpaper or lining paper. Clipboards with writing tools attached. Portable writing toolkit filled with resources such as sticky notes, masking tape, a selection of pens and pencils, and a selection of paper and envelopes. Mark making trolley with a variety of equipment. Role play. Pots of pens and pencils. Diary or calendar. Calculator, notebook. Sticky notes and sticky labels. Forms and junk mail. Variety of paper envelopes, postcards and greetings cards. A notice board. Phones, mobile and landline. Non-functional and toy, of course. And phone book, address book. In the construction area, have paper, large rolls and sheets to support planning and designing, a range of pens and pencils, clipboards, plans and diagrams, a notice board, DIY catalogues and order forms, and notebooks. Natural materials, sand, mud or clay, have a range of plastic grouting tools, lolly sticks, twigs and feathers. In water play, you can use buckets of water and a range of tools, including paintbrushes, rollers, artist brushes, sponges and dish mops, colouring or glittering to add to water, and collections or containers of squirting and pouring, a garden hose in clear plastic tubing. For malleable play, a variety of substances, corn flour, non-allergenic shaving foam, crazy soap, dough or clay. ICT, an overhead projector with a variety of transparent, translucent and opaque objects in a variety of colours, transparency paper and overhead or dry white pens. Photographs, speech bubbles, think bubbles, captions, living books and speaking books. Key person role. Effective practice. Practitioners who offer effective practice fulfill this criteria. They value and celebrate the mark making, mathematical graphics, writing and drawing and efforts of all children, so that they have a sense of achievement and their self-esteem is promoted. They develop children's awareness of languages and writing systems other than English, and communication systems such as signing and braille to encourage an inclusive ethos. They are also fascinated by children's thinking and committed to supporting them on their communication journey. Challenges and dilemmas. Planning time to tune into children's individual preferences through sensitive observations and genuine partnerships with parents. Sensitively supporting and modelling children's unique thinking and representational skills, and allowing time and space for children to explore and develop mark making and representational methods which are personal to them. Reflecting on practice. What opportunities are there for children to celebrate their own and each other's mark making, drawing and writing successes? How do you use children's interests to plan for meaningful mark making opportunities? And how do you document children's learning to enable them to revisit and reflect on their achievements? Creating a secure emotional environment. Creating a secure emotional environment is of paramount importance if children are to become confident, independent mark makers. Settings should provide opportunities for children to try new experiences, explore new resources, and communicate their thoughts and feelings in an atmosphere of mutual trust and respect. The quality of the relationships that develop between adults and children will determine the extent to which children feel able to take on new challenges in their learning. When they know that their endeavours are valued by the important people in their lives, children are empowered to think creatively and develop confidence in themselves as learners. In this emotionally safe climate, children are able to flourish in their own pace and no limits are placed on their learnings. Sensitive support from knowledgeable adults enables children to make meaning of the world and to represent their thinking both orally and through marks. Practitioners should use learning stories to celebrate young children's achievements, their strengths and their interests. Tune in to children to use their strengths and interests as starting points for their learning. Listen to children and engage them in conversation that will extend their thinking. Take time to build relationships with parents based on mutual trust and respect, and create an emotional environment in which children can take risks, explore, and be adventurous in their mark making. Effective practice. Practitioners who offer effective practice fulfill these criteria. Provide opportunities for children to see adults writing and encourage children to experiment with writing for themselves through mark making, personal writing symbols, and conventional scripts. Value children's own graphic and practical explorations of problem solving, reasoning, and numeracy, and ensure children feel secure enough to have a go, learn new things, and be adventurous. Give opportunities for children to work alongside artists and other creative adults so that they see at first hand different ways of expressing and communicating ideas and different responses to media and materials. Challenges and dilemmas. Working with parents and practitioners who have views about the mark making and writing journey that may differ from those of the setting. Being proactive in building positive and genuine relationships with parents. And valuing what children can do and children's own ideas rather than expecting them to reproduce someone else's ideas. Reflecting on practice. How do you support children in communicating their thoughts, ideas, and feelings in a range of ways? How do you encourage parents to share their children's mark making, their drawing and writing from home within the setting? And do all adults in both the home and setting environments value children's early mark making and recording systems? Are there sufficient opportunities for children to get deeply involved, discover new lines of inquiry, experiment, explore, represent their thinking, and solve problems? Is the environment full of inspiration, providing provocations for learning that will capture the child's imagination? Does the environment enable children to be independent and make their own choices of materials and resources? And are there quiet spaces where children can ponder and play, as well as larger open spaces for them to test their new physical skills? Observation and assessment. Are staff capturing mark-making moments? Not all mark-making is on paper, so how are these recorded within their learning journals? How are the next steps identified? EYFS. The three characteristics of effective learning are playing and exploring, engagement, active learning, motivation, and creating and thinking critically, thinking. Playing and exploring, engagement. Finding out and exploring, playing with what they know and being willing to have a go. Active learning, motivation. Being involved in concentrating, keeping trying, and enjoying achieving what they set out to do. Creating and thinking critically, thinking. Having their own ideas, making links and choosing to do things. Thank you for listening. Here are my contact details. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.